Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SITAC webinar series. This is Rakesh Malakar. I am a member of SITAC organizing team. Today we have an exciting webinar on UX UI architecture, and we have our special guest today. Her name is Vidya Sriram. Vidya is an independent consultant and experienced UX strategist working with companies that are intentional about the digital transformation. Her areas of expertise are customer research and product strategy. Recently, she has been working with companies to set up and scale customer research programs to inculcate empathy and customer-centric innovation. Her personal passion is to support and guide women who are trying second act in their career. Before we start the presentation, a few housekeeping details. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in question box, or you can raise your hand and you can ask questions directly to Vidya, and I'll unmute your mic. And during the presentation, Vidya will pause for the questions, and either she will read the questions or ask a question, or I will read the question on behalf of you. Vidya, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rakesh. Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I hope you are too. I know for many of you, you're on the East Coast and it could be late, so I'll try to make it as interesting as possible and as interactive as possible. This is not only a topic that is close to my heart, this is a topic that all of you can relate. So that way, I'm hoping it's as interesting for you as it is for me. So let me get started. The agenda for today is about unpacking UX and UI. So the session is titled as UX UI architecture. So what does UX mean and what does UI mean? There is a lot of confusion and a lot of people misuse it in the industry. So that is something that I want to first unpack. Next, we will move on to what human-centric design is and what is the connection between UX, UI, and human-centric design. How do all these connect? The third part of it is we would have talked about concepts in the previous two sections, unpacking and human-centric design. So let's make it real is about providing you with specific examples as to what it means. If we talked about something, how does it look like and how can you generate it? And I've also provided you templates and resources so that it makes it easy for you to apply it yourself, as well as if you're interested more, you can go to these resources and learn a little more. You can also reach out to me. My contact information is there. And there are some additional information in the appendix. We'll get to it if we have time. Otherwise, they are provided for your references. So before we get started, do you have any questions? Anyone has anything to ask?
So I'm going to unmute your mic. If you have any question, you can ask directly. Or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute your microphone.
All right. All right, everyone. I would highly encourage you to ask questions, even if you are not able to, if you don't want to unmute yourself, please ask in the chat, because the more you put in, the more you receive from this. So I would highly encourage you to do that. So for now, I'm moving on with the agenda. Okay. Sorry, I had a glitch here. Okay, unpacking UX and UI. So before we get to that, tell me a product that you love. Anything. It can be an app, it can be a physical product. Tell me a product that you love. Go ahead and put it in the chat.
Yeah, either you can put it in the chat or you raise a hand and then I'll unmute you.
Okay. You're all amazingly
I don't.
quiet. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Something.
Instagram. I have I have a product name from Kia. She said Instagram.
I'm sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you.
Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. Is it you, Rakesh, or are you saying someone product?
It's from Kia.
It's from Kia. Okay. Thank you, Kia, for chiming in first. So yeah, Instagram. Tell me why you love it. Just a single reason, or what you think about the product. When I say Instagram, what is the word that comes to your mind?
I actually unmuted you.
Hi, Vidya. This is Kia here. So
Hmm?
I hope you're able to hear me.
Yeah, I can,
Yes.
Kia. Thank you. Yeah.
Great. So the reason why I think I like Instagram is because if it's really simple kind of user interface and like it's very intuitive to figure out how to use it, and they're very from the beginning they've been very heavy on the images and less heavy on the text side. So that is something that I like about it because I don't want to read all the time and I just want to like look at pictures. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it a lot. So.
Okay, thank you so much. That's wonderful. That's pretty much why we usually love a lot of products. They are simple or they are intuitive, like he has said. So usually these are the words you say. Now, what Kia said, intuitive and simple, are not here, but they can also find a place. So invariably, good when it is about good products, these are the words that come to your mind. And great products have these qualities. They're useful, they're valuable, they're usable, meaning intuitive, what Kia said. There's another way to say it, usable, delightful, memorable. It helps you make some kind of progress. Think about Fitbit. You're able to, you don't have to think about your steps or entering, you can just wear it and just go. It makes you feel like a better version of yourself. People who use journals or meditative apps, when they use it, they feel better about themselves. It helps enable behavior change. It can again be Fitbit or a food journal. Think about those things. It enables behavior change that you want, so you feel good about yourself. So great products have these qualities. And well-designed products create memorable experiences. When we think about experience, we can think about it in three ways. One is visceral. Visceral is how you immediately feel about it. When you see something, does it make you happy, joyous, contented, fulfilled? So what is the feeling that comes to your mind? It can even be embarrassed. There are also the not so good feelings. But experiences are made up of three things: visceral feelings, reflective feelings. When you think about it, so let's say Kia uses Instagram, and she thinks about a Instagram story that she put in 2 days ago, and it got a lot of likes and a lot of conversation. So she thinks about it and she feels good about it. Behavioral. Maybe she had some good stories and not so good stories. So now she will know, she will change her behavior to get in more of those good stories and to get more of those conversations and likes on her Instagram stories. So good experiences and good products always evoke three different kinds of feelings in us. The visceral feeling, which is the immediate first impressions, immediate reactions; reflective, that we think about them a little later; and behavioral, it changes our actions and the way we do things. So that's what well-designed products do. You may not have thought about products in this sense, but it's helpful to think about it in this sense so that you're able to relate to the UX and UI section when we get to it. So we talked about well-designed products creating memorable experiences. So what is experience? What is this user experience we're talking about? The formal definition for that is the user experience encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with the company, its services, and its products. So Instagram was a simple example. It is just the app that you're using. But if Instagram was not using the right privacy settings, that's not going to do well for your experience, right? You know about the Facebook scandal recently. So a lot of people deleted Facebook. You know about the Uber scandal that happened a while ago. A lot of people went on the delete Uber campaign. So it encompasses all aspects of the end user interaction. Even though something may be simple and it may be delightful, something about the company or its policies or its processes, something is not working for you, that can also influence and impact your experience. So when you think about user experience, it is about all your interactions with the company, not just when you're using the product, but when you're reading about it, when there is a social tweet about it, you are looking at all these aspects and thinking about how you connect with the company. And that's what is user experience. Now, let's break it down. When we say user experience design, it encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with a company. When we say company, think about the marketing. You can see a billboard, or it can be a targeted ad that comes to you. So the marketing language, or how they are marketing something. Some of the ads put us off. So those are the aspects of marketing. Sales, are they just pounding you with sell, sell, sell instead of talking about how the product will be useful to you? I'm sorry. That's the aspect of sales. Or do they really understand your needs and help you and tell you how this product will make your life better? That's the sales aspect. So social, how do they behave in the social realm? Are they are they behaving in a way that makes a lot of people awkward, or are they just fun? Are they just a fun brand? How do you see them? Its products. Its products is Instagram is simple and intuitive. Yes, so you're getting some value. Product is about using it or trying the product. It's services. Okay, you're into trouble. Are you getting help? Or you want to make more out of the product? How can I use this product even better? You bought a new smart TV. You don't know much. You don't know to use a lot of the other settings. When you reach out to Best Buy, are they able to help you with how to make the most of it? So seeking help can be when you run into trouble, or even getting the most of it. All these different ways of your engagement with the company, all these interactions are going to determine your UX, your experience, which is what we call as user experience. And when we say user experience design, we are talking about the concept of designing such experiences. So UX is also the outcome of a strategy. So in this project, you would have all initially started with some kind of, this is how we are going to approach to get this product out. You would have made a choice of how you are going to think about this product and translate it into the solutions, the user stories, or the wireframes that you have. So that is also what UX is about. A well-designed strategy and a thoughtful design results in, let's say for Kia, it will be Instagram here. A not so well-designed strategy and a thoughtless design results in one of the phone stands that I bought recently. It was useless for me. I felt it was not well designed and fit my needs. So that's what happens with UX. Now, we talked about UX. Let's move to user interface design. User interface design is everything that's designed into an information device. Now, this word is a little confused. I mean, a convoluted information device. There is a reason for that, because the device can be an ATM, a refrigerator, a smart refrigerator, your remote, or a website. We all always think about it in a digital sense, or as websites or mobile sites, but it can be any kind of device where there is some information that you want to access or you want to transact with. So that's a UI. The focus usually for UI is on the look and feel. So if Instagram is intuitive, it's because of how it is designed. The look and the feel is not confusing. It's pleasing. It speaks to Kia, and so the UI piece of it it has more focus on the look and feel part of it. The UI design typically refers to graphical user interfaces, but also includes others such as voice-controlled ones. These days, you have Alexa and Google devices. Those designs are also UI designs, because you may not have an interface to actually. There are no buttons for you to press, but you're using your voice to interact with this. So an integral part of UX is UI. If the Instagram is not simple and intuitive, the whole experience is not good. However, that's not the only thing. If Instagram is going to take all your photos and publish it with no privacy policies, then even though the UI is great, your UX is not going to be so great. So UI is an integral part of UX, but it is not UX. So this is an easier metaphor to think about UX. The facts that I gave you so long are important, but a simple way of remembering UX is like an umbrella. It has all these aspects: visual design, information architecture, interaction design, usability, user research, content strategy. These days, we are also including things like voice and tone. There are a little more nuances to it, but simply put, UX is an umbrella that is made up of many blocks. Think about it like Lego blocks. And UI is one important block of that, but it's not the entire thing. So the UX toolkit, if I say I just wrote a big list here, there can be much more. But when you think about UX, it is all these aspects that we think about when we design an experience or design a product. The misguided perception of UI, when people say UI, they just think about these aspects: interface design or visual design. Even when you have to design an interface, you have to think about, let's say, prototyping. You have to think about the usability aspect of it, the information architecture aspect of it. So there are lots more to UI than just thinking about it as interface design and visual design. This is an important distinction for you to remember, and I feel you're all just beginning here. Some of you may get into this field of UX, and I think this is a great foundation to have. If you don't take away anything, take away UX is not UI from today's session. That's the most important one in my mind. So to design a successful UI, you need to think about the end-to-end of the user experience. There is a beautiful link in an article that expands on this thought process. I would highly encourage you, if you're interested, to go and visit this link and take a look. It's a 3 to 5 minute read of the article. So now, going back to the experiences, Instagram is great, but we don't talk about all products like that. I recently bought a phone stand which was useless, I said. So some products are great and some are not. How does this happen really? Is this magic? Is this hit or miss? It's just serendipitous. Is it just a happy accident? No. You can engineer a good product and an amazing experience every single time. And the secret of a good experience is human-centric design. So that's the next section we are moving to, but I'm going to stop here to field some questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat, or if you want to ask, please unmute yourself and ask away. Okay, people, you're making me nervous. Either I'm really good or totally confusing.
I think you are really good.
Okay, that's what I would like to believe too. Okay. Should I go?
There's one question.
Go ahead.
No, actually, there's one question from Ziala. His question is UI part of UX?
It is. It is. So I showed you the, I'm sorry. I showed you the umbrella here. So you can see this is the entire toolkit, and you have the interface design and visual design here. So UI is a part of UX, and you can also see here the third notch here is interaction design, which usually, and the first one here is visual design. I hope you're able to see my mouse, Riala. So these two are usually the focus of UI, and it is a part of UX. It's a subset of UX.
If you have any other questions, you can just, okay, so there's another question from him.
Okay.
Is UI mainly responsible for visual part?
It depends. I'll tell you how. Imagine a startup company. A single person can do both visual design and interaction design. But think about a company like Instagram or Airbnb. There are there are specialists for visual design who will only work on the animation part. There are specialists for people who handle the fonts and the colors. So even within visual design, you have specializations. So it depends on how big the company is, how complex the product is. So it depends on a lot of these factors. But generally, when they say UI designer, they would expect you to have some understanding of interaction design as well as visual design. Does it help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Any other question from anyone? Just put in a question box or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. No question. So
All right. Let me move on. Okay. So human-centric design. So this is the secret of building great experiences, creating amazing products. What is this human-centric design? The human-centric design hinges on 5 principles. Focus on people, focus on the right problems, think of the end-to-end experience, always test and learn, continuously improve. It comes down to these things. Now, some of you may have heard the words design thinking, lean UX, agile development. I have a couple slides in the appendix that clarifies how they connect to the human-centric design. If you have a question, I'll clarify it later. But I don't want to get into those labels. I want you to understand the foundational principles of what human-centric design is and why does it help create great experiences and products. You'll see that. So we are going to visit each of these principles, starting from focus on people through continuously improve. And I'm going to show you what it means and what are the deliverables. What do we create? To understand this, you basically create some kind of a documentation or some kind of an output. What do those look like? I have some examples and then we'll get into the house. So starting with focus on people. When I say focus on people, you're thinking about who am I building this for? Now, this is a great time for you to think about the project that you have started already. The Bully project that you have already started. This is a really good time to think about these questions so that it speaks to you. It's not some abstract concept, but it'll be more meaningful to you when you think about it. Who am I building this for? In what context? Time, place, or device? When I say time, is it mornings? Is it monthly ones? Is it yearly ones? Place, online, offline, with a friend, without a friend, in a crowd, party. Device, is it mobile or web? In what context will they use our product? What are their motivations? Why would they use? What is the purpose of using your tool? Instagram brings you happiness. You're connecting with people and you're sharing something. So the motivation can be having fun and just being happy. Goals and needs. What are their pain points? Is there something that's currently bothering them that they need a solution? What solutions are they using now? This is also equally important. A lot of us may not invest in products. You go to Best Buy. There are a lot of products that you don't buy sometimes in Amazon because they are meaningful solutions, but just not for you. You may have the same problem, but the problem may not be big enough for you to invest in that solution. You may have a hotspot solution that is working for you. So it is important to understand what solutions they are using now. Usually we do this, we talk to people, we call them user research or user interviews, and we create things like persona, empathy maps, user stories or job stories, or user one page. The user one pager is something that it's a mishmash of all these things that I have used when I work with startups and other companies. That's been very useful to me. So that's one of the templates that I'm sharing. This is what we create when we understand the answers for these questions. When we explore answers for these questions and talk to people, we capture the information in one of these forms. Sometimes they are just notes if you don't have the time. Usually, this helps communicate to a broader set of people. Especially think about companies. You need to share it with other people. These are the deliverables we usually establish. So a persona looks like this. A persona means it's a representation of a type of customer. So think about it like a template, but it's a representation of a person. So here you have the behavioral considerations, a little, she's Rosa, and a little intro about her. She does not believe in settling. She won't settle for a job with a company that isn't as innovative and cutting edge as she believes she deserves. You may not be able to see it. I'm not going to read the entire thing. But what I read just now gives you a sense about who Rosa is. When I say Rosa doesn't believe in settling, even that first sentence tells me that Rosa is a strong person, that you can't just strong arm Rosa. Rosa is a person who thinks, who is deliberate in her thinking. You get a sense of who she is when we write these things about them. So that helps you think about how you should create the experiences too. So it starts with a small write-up about Rosa, then it gets into her behavioral considerations. So one of the things that I'm going to read here is, she thoroughly compares multiple companies with similar opportunities. So for example, if you want to hire Rosa, you are going to highlight what your company is going to differentiate with. You're not going to just say, we need help and you need to have good communications, come and join. You're going to highlight, oh my God, I'm speaking to Rosa, so I need to highlight how my company is different and I need to hire this person because she seems to be strong and good. So here we talk about her frustrations, the goals, and the tasks. So all these things give you a sense about who this person is. And depending on who that person is, how you design will be different. A simple way to understand about persona is a persona needs to drive design decisions. A lot of the times, the market personas that usually that the marketing department creates could be filled with demographic information, like what is her age and what is her education and those pieces. Those are actually not very helpful when we are designing products that people will use. Marketing is about selling and UX personas are about using. So demographics are not given a lot of importance here. You might have some demographic information, but you mainly focus on the behavioral aspects and the goals and needs and frustrations. That's what a good persona should be about. Again, if you're interested, these are the links that you can go to, and you can even read more details about this. Empathy map. This is another simple way of thinking about the user. So an empathy map basically thinks about, what does this user say? How do they think? What do they do? How do they feel? And you have an example here. I'm not getting into it now because I want to make sure that I'm on time, but I specifically included this so that you get a sense of how you will fill out this empathy map. So here I have what size is best. That's what she says. And when buying a TV, she's thinking about what is the best size. And she is thinking about, do they think I'm stupid when I ask these questions in the store? What she does, she checks the website. How does she feel? She feels overwhelmed. So even these 4 things that I read about helps you to think about, okay, I need to really make it simple for this person and I can't overload and overwhelm this person. That's the sense you get, and that will inform your design. Design in the sense your UI, the words you choose to put in, even your marketing messages, your customer support department, how they talk to the user. They want to use a technical language, but they will ask them in a simple language. So you think about all the aspects of the user experience when you learn about the user and design better. So this is the user one-pager that I put together, and this can look a little overwhelming for you, but this is a comprehensive set of questions. So if you have to fill up this column of goals and needs, these are the possible questions you want to think about. Every time, all the time, you don't have to think about all these questions. Depending on the product, you may have to think about some, and some may not be applicable. But this is generally a comprehensive list of questions that I have found useful. So I worked with startups, I worked with mid-sized companies, and I worked with enterprises. So having something like this always helps me not to think about the questions new every time. So this is another way for you to think about it too. I have filled this out as an example, and we'll get to it later. So that was our focus on people. So let me go back quickly. Focus on people are about understanding your user, and it can be and how you can document it is in the form of a persona, an empathy map, a user one-pager, and then we move to the second aspect of it. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Go ahead and type it even if you get a question in the middle. But for now, I don't see any, so I'm going to move on. Find the right problem. So this can be surprising to you. Not all problems are worth solving. Now, why is that? Because sometimes what you think of a problem can just be a symptom. Sometimes there could be a problem, but they may have existing solutions. So one of the companies that I worked with was creating how to quickly stitch videos. And it was a video compilation solution. So the existing solution a lot of people was having for this was they were just taking picture and they were putting it in a PowerPoint and running it on an automated clock. So that existing solution was much more easier than for someone downloading an app and using it. So if people have existing solutions and they are used to doing that, it's very hard to break a habit. So it is important to think about if there is a problem or there are existing solutions. Is this important enough to solve? How important is this for the person? How severe is the pain point that they have? How much are they frustrated? Are the questions we need to think about. Are we fitting into our user's life? If they have to completely create a different routine, it's very hard for your product to be successful, because all the social apps are very popular because people travel and commute a lot, and during that time it's a great way for them to be entertained. So that's the reason, that's how it is fitting into their lives. And so they are successful, because it's very hard for people to break habits. How many apps you would have installed on your phone and you may have never got into it and uninstalled? Either because they were not useful to you, or even if they were useful, you just didn't find you just never got to it. It just happened like that and you uninstalled because it didn't fit into your life. Not that the product was bad, but it did not fit into your life. Is this viable and technically feasible at this time? So that gets into when you're actually developing. As a business person, is this viable? Will this make me money? Am I going to lose money? Will there be enough customers who are downloading this product or who are using this product? Can I monetize on this? Is a viability question. Is it technically feasible? If you're thinking about an AR, VR capability, that's just too early for its times. Maybe your idea is great, there is a problem worth solving, but maybe technically it is not feasible right now for your company or for the budget you have, even as an entrepreneur. So those are the questions to think about to balance the problem you're solving and the solution you're going after. So this usually we employ these tools. Lean Canvas. I don't know if you have heard of it. If you have not, these are great links that will make it that have very simple explanations, and this is a great way for you to improve your business acumen. So Lean Canvas is one of the methods. Basically, you think about your problem, your solution, what is a unique value proposition, the unfair advantage. It just breaks down your business plan into very common sense based questions that you should be able to answer. This advances a lot of clarity for you, because if you cannot answer these questions, you should not be moving ahead with developing the product at all. So these are great, not only tools for you to get clarity, but they are also a reality check for you to have a go, no go decision about your product. Value proposition canvas. This is another way to think about it. So here, what you have the gain creators and pain relievers, and the gains and pains. All these things, if you did an empathy map, they are directly translatable. Those are the reusable aspects for a value proposition canvas. The reason I'm pointing this out is because these are not just independent tools standing in vacuum. Every tool informs each other and drives clarity and richness for your product. Balancing innovation. So when we come to actually in product development in companies, we think about three things. Desirability. From user research, understanding the user, we understand what are the needs this product should serve. Viability. Okay, we can't serve everybody and we can't give everything our customer wants, because we need to make money on that. So that's the viability part. Feasibility. Is it even possible right now? Do we have, is our technical team capable of doing it? Maybe they are capable 6 months down the line, but not right now. So you may have to postpone some of the capabilities of the product. So you think about balancing innovation in this way also. All right. So let me do a quick recap. You want to think about the right problem. And how do you know you are after the right problem? You're asking these questions, and you're further getting clarity by using one or a combination of the tools, whatever makes sense for your problem at hand. Okay, I'm going to move on to think about the end-to-end experience. I'm going to take a little pause here. If you have questions, it's a good time to ask.
Yes, if you have any questions, put it in a question box or raise your hand and I will unmute you. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so there's a question from Kia. She raised a hand, but I couldn't unmute her. I'll read the question for you. Could you go over the value proposition map again?
Okay. Okay, I'm here.
Is there a specific question, Kia? Her question is, any guidelines on how to build it?
Okay. The link that I have given here has a video that clearly explains how this is done. But I can also, if you have questions, I can also handle that. It is just that it is out of the scope of today. But certainly, I'm glad to expand on this later. But the link also gets you to a video that's very helpful. Generally, I have introduced that to my teams and they have found it helpful. So try it, but I'm happy to help.
She said, sure, thank you. I'll go over the link.
Okay.
And
simply put, go ahead.
As Vidya mentioned, Kia, you can go through the link, and then if you have more questions, let us know or let Vidya know, and then we can answer you specifically offline. We can move on.
All right.
No more questions.
Okay. So I just want to give you a two-liner here. You talk to the customers. I'm on the right side. I don't know if you can see my mouse. You talk to the customers and you understand what their pains are. and what their gains are. What are they looking for? So the pains are the problems and the frustrations they have. The gains are what the solution looks like and what are they aspiring for. So when you get these two, you have the customer jobs. When we say customer jobs, we are talking about the capabilities that they need. I need to be able to post my picture or what I like and have a conversation with my friends. That's the capability of Instagram maybe. The pain maybe I can't always meet my friends, make time for them, but I need to be able to connect with them. And the gain is it makes me feel connected and happy. So that could be, imagine the pre-Instagram, pre-Facebook days. Maybe that's how people talked about it because they didn't know it was social. There was no name to it. They were just saying, I need more connection and I want to be in touch with the people I know and have fun. So on this side, on the left side, if you get here, the gain creators and the pain relievers. How is your product or service going to relieve the pain and create a gain? So they will look at your pain. They will look at, when you talk to the customers, you would have created the capabilities, the customer jobs based on their pain and gain. You will use that to inform the purpose of your product. So you will make that into the specific features as pain relievers. And as people use it, you will charge them and there will be a gain created. In the case of Instagram, maybe it is free. So the gain creation is after 100 people join, we'll start using it for ad revenue. So that's how the business thinks about it. So talking to the who actually gets you to the why of the product. That's a mini lesson on value proposition. So I'm going to go to the third pillar of think about the end-to-end experience. So I think all of you may be having, may be familiar with these experiences. You may have landed on an article somewhere and you may not have been able to share it. Share it with somebody or even text it to you. You may have taken a picture and then again gone and browsed it and sent it to somebody. You may have had to repeat the information to different customer reps. It's the same number, 1-800 number you would have dialed, but 3 people, you would have repeated your information 3 different times because they are in 3 different departments and there is no way to exchange information. There is not a single system that's keeping log of this information. And how many times have you bought something online that you could not return at the store? I have had all these experiences. So why does this happen? We call it inside out view because companies or even entrepreneurs sometimes they talk about it in terms of their departments. Okay, this person is going to do marketing, this person is going to do sales, this team is going to do the product, and this team is going to be the customer support team. So they think about it as different, what we call as silos, and different boxes, but they are black boxes that they don't talk to each other. They're not like the internet where all the machines are connected. They're like black boxes that don't talk to each other. So that is when you'll have the experience like, oh, you need to talk to our support teams. This is marketing department, and I cannot transfer you because you can only reach them via email. So think about this experience. This clearly shows that every single channel, every single department has a different channel, like email or phone. They maintain it differently, and they don't talk to each other. That's the inside out view. How should this actually look like? Think about it. You can pay the card balance in the store while we take care of your online return. No problem. You usually make your credit card payment for the store going to their website. And you order it online, so sometimes you have to only return it online. But look at how they are able to help you. That is because they have thought about a customer's life. People don't operate it as online department. People don't care about online department and offline department. People may come to the store and they may want to take care of different things. That's how people are. When you understand that about people's lives, you will start designing for seamless omni-channel experiences. Now, one other thing that I want to bring to your attention is that look at this marketing, sales, product, and customer support. Before the days of smartphone and cloud proliferation, the marketing department, you will get news about new products only from the marketing department. You will talk to sales only when you're ready to make a move beyond, beyond your initial attraction to the product. Only after you buy, you actually go to the product department. And only when you have trouble, you go to the customer support department. But the script is flipped these days, because when you're on the internet, you're bombarded by the ad. You can just from the marketing department about their new product. You can also immediately open another tab and start comparing the competitors' tools and see if it is the same for you. When you're buying product one, you can also try product two for free. So it's not just the sales department buying, but it's also the trying the product department, trying product two, which is actually the marketing department. You're using the product, but when you need help, when you get stuck, you are looking for a chat window there, which is the customer support department. So they're not two different things. You want get off the product and dial. You're expecting chat support right there. And when you're going to customer support department, you're asking for some help, you may become aware of new products. You don't wait for the marketing department again to get introduced to new products. So do you see the overlap here? So you can be operating with different departments of the organization at the same time in different channels, because the SaaS products and the smartphones and the information proliferation has enabled you with that. So companies have to catch up with that kind of behavior and the expectation that comes with it. So you have to embrace this reality. However difficult it is, so you have to think harder. You have to provision for different expectations, or at least message that this is something that we will do, but this is something we are not ready at this time. You have to show that you are thoughtful. Otherwise, your brand is not going to connect with the customer. So you need to embrace this reality that people need to live life on their terms. They do not and should not have to care about how our company or product is going to be organized. You need to empathize with their needs and fulfill their expectations. So how to make this, okay, the theory is great, but how does this translate tactically? So when you begin understanding, not your life, I'm sorry, it's your customer's life. When you begin understanding your customer's life, think narratives, not features. Don't think about login. Don't think about payment. Think about how it fits into their life. So the narrative part is important. That's what people talk about when people talk about storyboards or listen to the storytelling of customers. They talk about aspects like these. Think experiences and not interactions. Don't think about how they will use the screen, what button they will press. Think about experiences. How do you want them? What problem should this solve, and how should they feel at the end of it? So keep it a little high level, and when you have to actually design, you will get into the specifics. But thinking about this at a higher level helps you think about the contextual needs at every stage. I'll give you an example, and it will be easier to understand at that time. Think about how your product will fit into their life and not how you can sell your product. This slide especially will make more sense to you when I go over this presentation and when you come back to it, hopefully sometime for a recap. Because this is a mindset shift. This is not something, don't use this product and use that, but this is a mindset difference. How you should be thinking, what you should be looking for. So how does this help? Okay, this mindset is great. How is this going to help? You will start accounting for all the touch points, digital or physical. This is what makes someone design for returning in the store even though they bought it online. Help the customer make the payment within the store even though they usually use the website. Because you understand people's lives. A busy single mom is not going to have the time to dedicate for everything. So she may show up in the shop and you can delight her by helping her pay the card and return something that she ordered online. That's how you think about it. You learn to accommodate the contextual needs. So she shows up in the shop. She came to buy something, but can you also take care of the payment? She came to buy something, the size was not there. Can you can you note her details and tell her, we will let you know when this comes, or we will ship this to you, and you can always return if it doesn't work out. Can you make it a little more easy on her? You design with an awareness about where the user has been before. So when they come to one screen, okay, where this person has been before, and where are they going after? How can I hand off the information? The simplest example is the customer support call, where you are repeating the information. If you remember that these are three different systems, three different departments, but there should be a way for me to send this information when I transfer the call. Then when you think about that problem, that contextual need, you will start designing for it. But if you just start to think about it as features and logins and use cases, then you may miss out the broader point and the broader experience that you can enable for a person. So once you think about it at a higher level, you can actually, at a capability, at a feature, at a screen, at a transaction level, you'll be designing smarter and more useful experiences. So what does this look like? I took one of your projects and I wrote a narrative here. So think about one of the customers must be the bullied persona, the person who is getting bullied. So think about this narrative. Jordan stared at his phone. It made him angry and confused. Someone had called him names and had become very abusive. This was not the first time he felt bullied, but he wondered if he was taking it too seriously. He wanted to know if this was bullying or just online social drama. He needed help and some support. He reached for his phone to explore. So now here, I'm not talking about any user interface, any wireframe, any features. I am just understanding who the user is. So when their context, when can they possibly encounter the situation? What do they feel? How do they think? And what do they do? That's what I have captured, but I will break it down later. But I first want to understand the story, the narrative of this person. Then I can convert the narrative to a scenario. So when I say scenario, it usually has this format. What is the situation? Someone is trolling and very, I'm sorry, this is not complete. Someone is trolling and very abusive to Jordan. How is Jordan thinking? He's thinking he's being bullied and wants to do something. They're capturing his goals and needs and motivation. One of them or sometimes all of them. How does he feel? He feels confused and angry. Wonders also if he is overreacting. So he's not sure here. So you're capturing his experience goals, pain points, and aspirations. He wants clarity. He's also angry. He wants some help. What does he do? He uses his phone to learn more. Now you can get into a little more specific. If you talk to the customer and wrote the narrative, if you spoke to Jordan and wrote the story, you can now ask him, okay, on your phone, how do you look for it? He can say, I go to Safari if he is using an iPhone, or he can say, I'll use the App Store. Now you exactly know, okay, this is the channel my customer usually uses, and that's where your app should show up. So it is important to think about the story first and the narrative to empathize with the user, and then you can convert it into this. Now this scenario on the right-hand side can very easily be translated into screens. You're completely ready to think about the interface now. And this is also a great time for you to think about the user stories. So you may not have followed this path to arrive at your user stories, but this is a great time for you to think about, do I know my customer? Do I know their motivations, goals, and needs? What is the narrative that I think that I have designed for? Is my user story complete? Have I designed for all their needs and pains? This is a good time for you to go and take a recap and get a reality check for yourself. So this is also the point. After you write the narrative and the scenario, you're also ready for writing a job story or user story. I think you may all have been familiar with user stories. I do want to introduce the concept of job stories. So this is the job story and I have attached a link. I also have an example later. The simple difference between a user story and a job story is that it takes into account the situation. And when I say situation, we are talking about the context. When I get bullied by somebody online, when I get bullied by someone offline, when I see someone bullying someone on the street. So the when piece of it gives you the context, and context is everything when you come to designing experiences. That is why, in my opinion, job stories are a little more superior than user stories. But you can do the comparison and decide how you want to go with it. So this section was a little longer, so I'm going to take a quick recap. So we don't want to think about in features. When they give you a project, you don't want to think about, okay, these are the features I want to give them. That's not how you want to think. You want to think about the end-to-end experience. So to do that, you don't want to take the inside-out view. You want to take the outside-in view. Outside-in means the customer-centric view, not the organization-centric or the product-centric view. Embrace the reality that you want to understand the people, how they lead their lives, and how you want to think about how you fit into their lives. So you want to think about narratives and not features. You want to think about experiences and not just interactions pushing some buttons. You want to think about how the product will fit into their lives and not just think about how you can sell your product. How does this help? You start accounting for all the touch points. You may not always be able to solve for everything. That's not what this is about. But your product roadmap will be robust. You may not build it now, but you may build it a year later. But you have a great vision for the product. Your product will be extensible. You will set the right expectations for the users. When you say, hey, we know that you want this, but at this time, this is what we can provide. When you go to chat, the smart chat interfaces will tell you, hey, we are not available now, but we can capture your query and come back to you later. The dumb chat interfaces simply will let you type something and come back with, we are not available. Even small things like that, you start becoming more thoughtful. That is why it is well designed. Good experiences are not about giving everything what the user wants. Good experiences are about setting the right expectations, being thoughtful at every stage of the experience. So how does this look like? You capture the narrative. When you talk to the users, you will understand their story. You create something like this. It's easy to empathize. And then you can break it down to how people think, feel, or do. When you break it down like that, you capture the comprehensive context of the experience, their motivation, how they frame the question in their heads, their goals and needs, what do they want to experience, what are they experiencing now, and what are the actions they take, and so how you can fit into their lives. You can also write job stories and user stories after that. It becomes easier once you have this clarity, and then you're ready to create your prototypes and sketches or wireframe and learn. So I want to stop here for a second. If you have questions.
If you have any questions, you can type it in the question box or raise your hand. No questions.
All right, guys. Okay, so now I do want to clarify something here. You don't always have to, if it is very unfamiliar, you can create a narrative. Let's say you are creating the version 2 of the product. When you're creating the version 2, you don't have to altogether maybe create the narrative again. You can just add to this, or you can directly add to the scenarios. Because scenarios are also completely capturing the customer's life on their terms. But in an unfamiliar domain, you start with the narrative, the story part of it, and then you break it down into scenarios. So it depends on your comfort level, whether it is the version 1 of the product or version 2 of the product. And sometimes even for you to communicate and when I have to convince stakeholders in an enterprise, I don't get into the user story level. I go to the narratives because the stories of people resonate better with people for me to help influence decisions in favor of the user. So the narratives have a big empathic effect on people, whereas things like user stories become more data. So it's easy for people to differ with it, whereas they are not emotionally engaged when it comes to feature discussion. They'll be emotionally engaged at the level of narrative or a scenario. That's the difference you need to keep in mind. Now, test and learn. Now our scenarios are ready to be translated into low fidelity prototypes. So I want to stress here that you want to start with low fidelity prototypes. And when I say low fidelity, it can even be with paper. So I'm going to show you that paper prototypes are great to start with. You want to spend more time in crafting the solution and getting validation from your users. Is this the direction that they meant? Sometimes people say some things, but they mean something else. There can be a communication gap. Or sometimes they say something and do something else because that's how people are. They're not lying to you, but they're just complex in some ways. So you want to start with the low risk prototypes. You're also ready to establish user or job stories at this point. Like I mentioned before, you can do this in parallel or they can mutually inform each other. Sometimes you create a low fidelity prototype and then you remember, I need a way for them to share this or text this to them. I only have shared via email. I don't have shared via text. So you may come up with something and then you will add to the user story. Or you may, when you're writing the user story, you may think about a particular feature and giving them the option on the prototype. So they may inform each other. This usually takes, when I say low-fi, it can be as low as a paper sketch like this. I brought these pictures because I want you to feel confident about getting a piece of paper and putting the prototype. Don't go to tools immediately. Paper sketches work great. A PowerPoint prototype works great for you to validate your ideas first. And I also brought this picture because I want you to understand that you can simply put post-its, different colored post-its, and make the user navigate it. So you can put it in front of people and test if the direction is right. It's very hard for us to see how we could be confusing or what is missing because we are too close to it. How much ever good intentioned you are, you can easily have a blind spot, and that's exactly why you want to put it in front of people and get validation. Now, you have tools like Balsamiq and everything if you want to go to the slightly next stage and create a template like this. This is also very easy. There is no investment here other than your effort. You're not actually spinning up development cycles or spending budget. This is just your time in terms of clarifying the problem and solution. Even your content navigation, what kind of menu options I will use, even that you can simply use a paper prototype and help people choose it. And when they are choosing, they may come up with feedback like, oh no, this is confusing. This wording is too, it's too awkward. I don't understand this at all. They can come up with that and you can very, very easily change up the options. So until you test and validate, don't move to creating these polished UI prototypes. It's a waste of your time and a lot of rework. So now let's assume you have done all this. You're ready to create the high fidelity prototypes, which look, the one at the top looks like medium fidelity and one at the bottom is even more polished. It depends on what your project needs. and as far as this project goes, what the evaluation criteria is. But in general, in real life also, this is how it works. We create paper prototypes, we test in the most scrappy way to make sure that we are sailing in the right direction and solving the right problems for the right people, and then we can go ahead and do the magic. So let's make this real section is all about breaking down each one of them and showing you an example. So I want to take a pause here and field some questions. You better ask some questions now.
Yes. Any questions? And you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question directly to Vidya. Okay, we have two questions. I'll read a question from Zialo first. What's the difference between the low fidelity and high fidelity?
Okay. Low fidelity can be paper, like I said. High fidelity can be your app. But there are a lot of stages in between. Today, low fidelity is also enabled by tools like Balsamiq, Just in Mind, Sketch. There are many tools where you can create the low and high fidelity. I'm sorry, there are many tools that help you create low, medium, and high fidelity. So, but the best way to think about it is anything that is scrappy, that is not done, that is not polished, that's a low fidelity. Anything that's really polished, like the ones you look at your app, like the Instagram app, that is high fidelity. So fidelity, think about it as quality of it. The lower it is, you can't put it in front of, you can't sell it. You can't make a product out of it and sell it. But the low fidelity ones really help you validate if you're in the right direction. That's pretty much the difference.
Got it. Thank you. We have another question. I believe you answered that question too. I'll ask anyways. The question from Nabia. Are there any tools to design high fidelity prototypes? Sure.
SketchUp is a very popular one. You have something called as Framer, Axure, AXURE. But SketchUp is taking the cake because it has great integration with a tool called InVision, INVISION. Because when you create prototypes in Sketch, you can very easily connect it to InVision and test it with a lot of people. It makes it very easy. So those are the two popular ones that I have that I've repeatedly seen in companies.
Navya said, thank you, Vidya.
Okay. And even in tools like Sketch, you can decide not to make it too polished, because Sketch helps you even create animations and create a very highly polished one. You can decide, okay, at this point, this is enough. I'm just going to make some boxes and put some cross marks for images, and I'm just going to test if this works for somebody. So you can decide at what point you can stop and make it a low fidelity, medium fidelity, or a high fidelity if you're using some tools. But the reason I brought the paper prototyping, and I'm a big advocate of paper prototyping, is because you don't need anything. All you need is your brain and your commitment to do right by the customer. So then you can go on and start validating all the ideas. Okay, so let's make this real now. So what did we talk about?
Sorry, Yogendra has a question. Yogendra, I will answer that question separately since it's related to the deliverables. If you have any specific question related to the UX and UI, you can ask those questions. If there's anything related to deliverables, you can send an email to info@iitarts.org, and then we'll answer that. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let's move on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's make this real now. Now, what did we talk about? We talked about the 5 principles, right? Those are the what's. What should be done for a human-centric design? We talked about the what's. And I gave you some examples about for each of the phases, what are the possible deliverables we will have. Now, let's also get into a little of how. How do you do that? So you do user research or user interviews, and for finding the right problem, I'm sorry, it's written wrong here. Let me make a note of it. And for finding the right problems, you do prioritization, you balance the desirability, viability, and feasibility. And for deliverables of prioritized scenarios or user stories, you establish the narratives or storyboard. We just saw that. And for always testing and learning, you can create prototypes and you can also create the IA. I don't want to mention, when I say IA, information architecture here, what I mean is the content navigation aspect, the menu navigation that is on the user interface. This is very different from the information architecture that is related to storage, your entity model and thinking about the database. That is different. These words can be confusing, so I can change this to content navigation. When I say IA, I am talking about the menus and the navigation aspect on the UI. And when we are continuously improving, what happens? A progressive value-adding product is being evolved. And how do you do that? You get continuous feedback from the user, again by talking to them, doing user research, or sending out surveys and getting the feedback. That's how we do. So focus on people. The techniques are user interviews, and the deliverables usually are personas and one-pagers. I'm going to show you the one-pager here, not the persona, but I did want to show you just the way I thought. This has got nothing to do with the project or what you did. This is just my view of how many different personas are there. I just wanted to put it so that you can relate to it. So the person who is bullied, the person who is bullying, friend of the bully, and friend of the bullied are the 4 personas in my mind. So I just took one of them. Jenna is a person who is a friend of the person bullying. So her friend is bullying someone. What are her goals? I want to be able to help my friend take control. They say control of his anger, control of his emotions. I want to become an advocate and raise awareness. She doesn't like her friend being like this. She also doesn't like that there are other people who are being bullied and are helpless. What is her motivation? She thinks this is a tragedy and this needs to be stopped. I want to feel proud for standing up for myself and for others. What are the pain points she feels? There is no easy way to make a complaint. I don't know how to organize events and raise awareness. Even our parents need to learn about this. What's the demographics? High school kids, middle school kids, college juniors, boys and girls are equally affected. So it's not just one part of it is affected. I can say the LGBTQ community is most affected in this case. That is something that I could have added in the demographics if I wanted. So the channels of engagement, Instagram and Facebook. Context of use. It happens, this kind of bullying happens when people are alone or with someone, online or offline. It mostly happens when using social media or in the evenings when my friends walk home. This is according to Jenna. So when I talk to Jenna, she is a person of the friend who is a bully, and this is how she thinks about her goals and needs. So I'm also combining the business metrics here, the existing data and success metrics. I think the success metrics for this product, if I create, is 100 downloads a month, not more than 20 uninstalls, at least 50 out of 100 people should create an account in the first 5 days, at least 10% of the people should recommend the app. Now the 7th column here is not about Jenna, but based on what Jenna says, I am thinking this is how my product should be designed. Now this seventh section should be the same for all the 4 personas. You can adjust it a little after talking to each of them, but these are the assumptions you are making about the success of your product. How do you know your product is solving for the problem and people are using it? This is how you will know. These are the metrics. What are the future use considerations? Yes, students will keep using the app if we provide value. They may want to become advocates and need help to raise events. So you may have to have some event planner sort of capability in your app, but it doesn't have to be immediate because you want to first find out if people are even finding use in your app. So this is how a one-pager looks like. It brings the persona, it brings the context, it brings your product success metrics, everything together in one place. Now, this is not the only way you have to do. I have just found it helpful to tie all the pieces together. I also sometimes create a persona. Now, this is something that helps me talk to the designers and the developers. But when I'm trying to convince my business people, I take the form of a narrative or a persona or an empathy map because that's easier for somebody to resonate with. So you can use a combination of it. It depends on who you're talking to. So finding the right problem. So we talked about, in this case, I used this technique, balancing feasibility, viability, and desirability. I just had an imaginary conversation with my designers and developers, and I came up with these problems. So after talking to all the personas, these are the possible capabilities that they want. So the green ones are most important for someone, and the ones with an X mark is something that I have decided, okay, this may not be in the first version of my product. And the ones in orange basically say, it's a nice to have, but I'm going to focus on my greens. Now, don't sweat as to what is in green and what is in red and what is in orange. This is just an imaginary prioritization that I have made up. But this is what you should be looking for. You will talk to you will know who your customers are. You will focus on the people, and you will establish the different personas. You will talk to them and understand what capabilities needs to be there, and then you do a prioritization here. Now, you also want to think about the end-to-end experience aspect of it. So this is where we get into the narratives and scenarios, which we already discussed. So this is the narrative that we went through before, and we have the scenario here. I just created another narrative and scenario for you. You can look at it. I think we may not have time to go over, but it's a similar idea. And then I can create job stories specifically. So when I see my friend bullying someone, I get tongue-tied. I want to know how to talk to him or her so that I can guide my friend and help others. So this is how you form a job story. I want to clarify something here. The key problems to solve, you may even iterate on this. Suddenly, when you actually look at the narrative and you form the user stories, you may add more problems, or you may reduce the ranking for a problem. Because the more you talk to users and you break it down in terms of scenarios and job stories, you may have more clarity about your problem. So this is a matter of iteration. It can go back and forth until you prototype. All these could be adjusted or clarified a little more. So while they are a sequence, there is no harm in thinking about it as also a iterative process here. At this point, you must have clarity about your problems, about the capabilities you want to build, about the channels. Now you're ready to test and learn. So I just created something on the PowerPoint itself. I wanted to make a paper sketch. I didn't have time. So I just went to my PowerPoint and I just started creating these screens. So this is just a makeup. It's just an imaginary scenario, but I wanted to show you what it means to create a lo-fi sketch and putting it in front of user and getting feedback. So this is how I created it. Think about this as a menu. Not doesn't look like a menu at all, but I'm just testing for direction. So the menu says you are being, there are three options here. You're being bullied, someone says you're a bully, your friend acts like a bully. Those are the three options that I have come up with. Now, somebody is choosing this, the first option, and you're going to the next screen. So the prototype says, I'm sorry about that. How can I help you? Do you need to lodge a complaint? Need to understand why they behave this way? Do you need to learn how you can take control of the situation? So let's say they said I needed to lodge the complaint. I'm sorry, previously. Let's say they said I needed to lodge the complaint. So you go to the complaint form and you're asking for some details. Just imagine that I created these three screens and put it in front of a user. And they may have given a feedback. Actually, I want to know what happens to the complaint after I file. I don't have that information. I will be anxious about that. Let's say they said something like that. So my iteration 2, the first and second screens will be the same, but in iteration 2, you can see I have had a new link saying what happens now. So when people click on that, they will actually go to the fourth screen that gives you some content about here's what happens after you lodge a complaint. So do you see the value of iteration? If you don't iterate with the user, this is a very simple change that we can make in our design that can remove the anxiety for our user. But if we did not iterate and put it in front of them, we may lose this window of opportunity to design better. So let's say the third iteration, I wanted to show you how you iterate for the menu navigation or the content aspect of it. So somebody can say, you know what, the first option, you're being bullied, is just too much, is too in my face. I don't like it. I want you to change that verbiage. Now, someone can say, sometimes I'm not sure about people's actions. I don't know what I'll pick. Your options does not tell me, it does not tell me what choice I have if I'm not sure about if someone is bullying or not. So you don't have that option, somebody can say. And someone else can say, you know what, there's just too many options on the front page that makes it very busy and makes me overwhelmed. I'm already nervous when I come to this app. I just feel it's just too busy. Possible. So now what I can do is I can add a new menu options that says you're not sure if someone is a bully. I'm sorry, I should have changed this in the prototype. I'll do that. So you could have added a new menu options saying you're not sure if someone is a bully. You could have updated you are being bullied, the first option, to someone is bullying you. This is not the smartest change, but I'm just giving it as an example here. What else was updated was learn more was removed from the main menu and moved to the right corner. Okay, I'm not showing the prototype, but let's say those are the differences that I'm going to implement here. I can remove the learn more and take it to the right hand corner here, and I can roll up the US and local statistics on bullying under learn more. So my menu option will only have 3 options. I can show this to you right away. So what I can do is I can remove this, and I will just do a learn more. Okay, I think I'll make it a little more beautiful, but I think you get the idea. So now it's a little less busy, and I have made the changes based on the user feedback. The point is, it is very ugly, but that doesn't matter. You have got valuable feedback, and you now know you are thoughtfully designing the way people are expecting. Now, possible next steps is you're ready to move to high fidelity prototyping. You've put it in front of 2-3 users. You've gotten feedback. You can go to the visual design. When I say visual design, I'm talking about the fonts you pick, the colors you pick. You wouldn't pick a red color here, maybe, because you want people to feel a little more calmer, because when they use your app, they're already going to be a little nervous. Someone has bullied somebody, or they are the victim, or they are the bystander, or they are the person who is bullying. So you want your app to first give them a sense of calmness and, an assurance. So there are colors that spell that. So you will choose those colors, you will choose the right fonts, you may work on some animation, you may work on the voice and tone of your application that to give confidence. You won't just talk in a very fun way because it's a serious topic, but you'll also keep the right balance of how to talk to your audience. You want to have a very adult language because you're talking to middle school and high school kids. So you will calibrate your language. So those are the possible next aspects that you will sweat about once you know you are addressing the right problem with the right solution. You may do one more round of usability testing. Usability testing is again putting it in front of people and getting their feedback. It's a disciplined conversation. It's not just doing whatever people want, but basically it is getting their feedback and understanding that and making the necessary changes. Finally, continuously improve. How do you do that? All right, you have delivered the first version of your app. Now, you go to the app reviews, you send out a survey, or you put it in front of random people after 3 months and see how helpful it is for them. These are the techniques you will use. And what is the outcome? Here, there is not a deliverable, but the outcome is a progressive product, a product that keeps evolving in a good way, that adds value and helps people make progress and changes their lives for the better. That's the outcome you're seeking for, and that's what will happen when you continuously improve. The result is a lovable product and a loyal customer. That's what you're looking for. So this is a pyramid that basically tells you initially people think about your product. They may find it desirable. They might use your product. Okay, it's simple. So it's simple and intuitive. You can use the product. Oh my God, it's persuasive and trustful. So they will use your product. Maybe that's how Instagram and Facebook is for a lot of people. And it helps you, the product itself, you have come to a point where you have an emotional relationship with the product that you cannot live without it. That's when you really love your product. So this is the possible hierarchy of the relationship between the product that you put out and the customer you have. It is very much possible to engineer this. You just have to be thoughtful at every stage. So that brings us to this end of this session. I have given the templates here separately if you want to use. And I'm wishing you lots of inspiration and success in your endeavors. You can reach me on this LinkedIn address. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to clarify and talk more about it. And I'm yielding the stage for questions now.
Yeah. Anyone, if you have any questions, raise your hand or type the question in the question box. And one thing I would like to mention when you are thinking about the question is that in your situation, you may not have actual users, so you can actually think of your friends and family as a user to test. When you do the usability testing, you can use your family and friends and to get the feedback.
You can, but if the product is meant for students, it may help also talking to actual students.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yogendra said, really enjoyed the info. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Anyone?
My pleasure.
Anyone, if you have any other questions, please type it in the question box. Sriharith said, wonderful webinar, and I second that. I don't think we have any questions. So thank you, Vidya, for a great presentation this evening. I fully enjoyed. Yeah, I fully enjoyed your presentation, and I'm sure our students did too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I know it's pretty late, and I'm glad you hung out till the end. And I really hope this is valuable. And I'm hoping some of you may chart out your path in this field. So, all the very best to your projects, and wishing you lots of inspiration. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you. Good night. Good night, everyone.